and then early in the season. And then as we started getting faster, and at the end, I kind of have a few workout examples. But as he got faster, and kept running the 4x2, kept running 4x4 legs. Occasionally we put him in an open 200 instead of a 300 hurdle race during a midweek meet or something like that. But as he got faster, hurdle time started to drop. So quick note here, making them as fast as possible for the 2 and the 4. So if we think about it, the athlete has to make gains in their running efficiency through proper mechanics. Yes, running mechanics, sprint mechanics, right? So EVDs are my everyday drills. Those are the drills that we are going to do every day as part of our warm-up. We don't sub those out for hurdle work. So it's not like, all right, we finished the warm-up, Dylan, instead of doing ankle step overs, A skips, B skips, those kind of things, you're going to go do hurdle drills. No, we're still doing those. We're still doing our regular running work. But that longer hurdler needs to be competent. I love that term. Needs to be competent with their hurdle technique. They don't have to be excellent. They don't have to be the most beautiful thing going over the hurdles. It doesn't have to look world class. Just be competent, right? Do enough to be getting over the hurdle that you're not going to kill your running mechanics, that you're not going to kill yourself going over the hurdle. Making them as fast as possible, essentially for a 300 meter race. In order to get faster, the athlete must expand those energy systems within that specific event. So if we think about what are we preparing for, 200, we have to do a lot of work, right? That short speed, essentially speed work, right? Whether it's acceleration, it's max velocity, speed endurance, we have to get speed work in for the 200. If we're talking about the 400, now we have everything combined, right? So now we have all that stuff, but we also have the lactic tolerance piece. We also have the tempo, intensive or extensive tempo, a little bit of that aerobic piece that we need. So then in the middle, where are we putting the 300 meters, right? So it's kind of a unique event. So at time dependent and intensity, how hard the kid, how fast, how much effort the kid is running, the athlete is running at, when they get to 40 seconds, that lactic tolerance, that is going to build up and that is going to start inhibiting their ability to perform. Whether it's your boy who's running 55 seconds, your boy who's running 48 seconds, or the world record holder, or your girl who's running 60 seconds in the 400. At 40 seconds in the race, we could pause the race, and all of them are going to be experiencing the same thing. Because they're all running long enough, and they're all running fast enough to experience that buildup. The only difference is, where are they at 300 or at 40 seconds, right? High school kids would be, somewhere 280 to 320 meters, whereas a D1 guy running 44 is going to be close to the finish line, right? So we think about 40 seconds, and where does 40 seconds put us with a 300 hurdler, right? As you saw, some of your really top end boys, they're not going to get to 40 seconds. That's great, right? But a lot of them are running at 40 seconds. So there's a certain part of that race they're going to have to negotiate over a hurdle, right? Again, I didn't do it, but I'm sure it's probably not a good feeling to have a lactic acid buildup and then still have to get over a hurdle or two, depending on how long they're running. So if we emphasize work for the 110s, for the 100 hurdles, to me it's kind of like emphasizing the work for a 100-meter sprinter, right? And we're neglecting a lot of what's required for the race. So if that's what we focus on, training-wise, and by training I mean like the workouts that we're doing, as well as the technique part, because in the short hurdles you do have to be a lot more efficient. You do have to be more sound in your hurdle technique. But then we're ignoring a big piece of the race here. So that 200 meter, that speed endurance, that gets built in, right? If we're trying to make the kid faster for 200 meters, then we are absolutely making them faster to be able to run in a 100 hurdle race or a 110 hurdle race. And then if we're training for the 4, we have that speed endurance, but now we've added in that ability to not lose velocity over the hurdles, right? And so if we kind of think about, again, what purpose of it, right? Understanding the why. The ultimate why is so that when they get tired, they're not losing speed over the hurdles, right? Particularly at the end of the event. That's my daughter jumping over the things in the yard. But like, what are the essential skills of a hurdler? Right? Great sprint mechanics, the ability to alternate, and making them competent with their hurdle technique. Right? So when we think about, okay, the skill-wise, the drills, those kind of things, let's make sure that we're doing these things. So we have to run before we can hurdle. So preparing them to master sprint mechanics, unnatural, poor technique is not going to lead to being a great hurdler. Right? That's just going to make things even worse. That's going to create more problems. Yesterday I listened to coach from North Dakota State talk about the hurdles. And it was interesting because it was like, he was probably the first person I listened to talk about hurdles who was in a similar situation to me. He was like, he was not a hurdler, right? And so we talked about going back to the idea of sprint mechanics, right? The hurdle, negotiating the hurdle, is all about going from sprint mechanics, negotiating the hurdle, and back to great sprinting mechanics. And so if we're overstriding, if we have short choppy strides, if we have limited heel recovery as we're running, right? If we're rotating the shoulders. So if kids are doing those things in just a regular sprint, then when we put them in a hurdle race, we're just making things worse for them, right? We're putting them in an even worse position with their sprint without great sprint mechanics. Okay? So, make them as fast as possible for 200 and 400. Rule 2, teach them to alternate. So, a few years ago I talked to this guy, Nate Weems. At the time he was at Mid-American Nazarene College. And then before that he had been at Iowa State and a couple other big places. We were just talking about the hurdles. And I called him because I said, I had this great hurdler who came to me during the summer, as kind of joined our club, and I had no idea what to do with him as far as 400-meter hurdle workout. And this is what Nate told me. He said, keep the speed and let him be ugly over the hurdle. And I was like, that actually makes the most sense of probably any hurdle advice that I've heard, right? Because we need to keep the speed. We cannot lose speed. And again, I think about it as a 200 or a 400. I tell kids all the time in the 4, if you lose your rhythm, if you lose the tempo, you're done. You're not going to get it back because the fatigue is going to set in. So we have to build confidence to be able to do things on both legs, always doing drills equally on both legs. I try not to use the term good leg, bad leg. It's like, this is your right leg, lead leg, that's your left leg, lead leg. We're going to do right trail leg, we're going to do left trail leg. There's not a good leg, the furthest I would go is maybe like a comfortable leg, right? And so, okay, well, let's get uncomfortable and let's work both sides. So, everyday drills, and these are, so I'm going to give and have a few videos here and some cues for, these are, again, we don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on hurdle drills, but here are the ones that are essential, and there's nothing amazing here, but I do use a real hurdle for drills. I'll talk about workouts in a few minutes here. But when it comes to the drills, we use a real hurdle. I count hurdle clearances, or I might not necessarily say, exactly like how many numbers, but I'm aware of how many hurdle reps are we doing, especially on the lead leg where we're talking about stretching that hamstring, right? And then if we've done a whole bunch of this, all day, I don't necessarily think we want to go in and be doing, some crazy workout, running 110s or flying 50s or 60s, at 90 something percent. Or if we've done a lot of hurdle work, come back the next day and do that again. So just be conscious of the stretching of the lead leg, especially depending on the flexibility level of the athlete that you're working with, or a few of them. Couple considerations. The idea of, does a hurdler need to hurdle every day? Like I said, my buddy Steve On, and I loved coaching with him, but I told him I don't think don't think they need to hurdle every day, right? I think it depends on the experience level. I think, as sprint coaches, we probably do hurdle mobility, right? When I'm doing hurdle mobility, we're doing hurdle walkovers. I'm telling sprinters the same thing I'm telling a hurdler, right? It's basically, it's the same thing, and we'll talk about some of the cues, but I'm telling them, get your knee to your armpit, right? Keep your toe pointed up, bring the heel straight up, bring the knee around in front. When we do skips over the hurdles, bent knee skips, right? All of those things. So we are doing potentially some hurdle work, just not necessarily a specific hurdle drill. I think probably even the more experienced the hurdler, maybe the less they need to do hurdle drills on a daily basis. Because again, I want to make them competent in the hurdles, right? So hurdle mobilities can sub in on those non-hurdle workout days. If the workout is focused on the hurdles, then yes, we will absolutely make sure that we are addressing hurdle drills on that day. So here's just sort of a chart that I made, and I kind of made this for myself, right? Because again, it's like as a non-hurdle expert here, how do I make sure that when we're doing drills, when I'm looking at technique, when I'm videoing, a kid going over a hurdle, am I making sure that I'm looking for the right things? And so I kind of made myself a little bit of a cheat sheet here. So, and we'll go through the drills here. But I kind of gave, here's the drill. Here's some of the cues, the things I'm telling the athlete, some of the things I'm looking for, and then what I kind of considered like how many sets and how many reps we should be doing on a hurdle workout day, maybe versus a non-hurdle workout day. And so on a non-hurdle workout day, what I mean is, we might do some of these, again, especially for a younger hurdler who's just kind of learning it. Those lead leg, trail leg drills, the side slides, and I have some videos of these. We might do some of those on a non-hurdle day. Again, just to get them reps. That's not gonna fatigue them, as much as some of the other stuff. So a couple videos here of some of the drills. So these, and again, none of these drills are like, incredible things that I've come up with. There are a few that I think are somewhat unique or the way we do them. But lead leg drill on the wall. So again, cues, are we leading with the knee, right? Because if we don't lead with the knee, then we're going to lead with the foot, and we're going to be doing that kind of stuff. So again, I look at it from the sprint coach standpoint, right? If we're going into the hurdle, the hurdle wasn't there, we still want great sprint mechanics, right? Now we just have a hurdle that we have to negotiate over. On the lead arm, I tell them, check the time, right? Again, yesterday, Coach was talking about kids have a lot of tendency to come way too far across. And some of that has to do with their sprint mechanics, right? If they're naturally one of these kids, then when they go to hurdle, they are going to end up here. But I tell them, check the time, right? So if I'm here with my lead arm, I don't need to check the time all the way over here, right? I'm just checking my watch right there. And I'm keeping that hand kind of midline of my body, right? So check the time. And then just telling them be quick. And for me, that's a cue with every sprint drill, right? So does us no good to be doing the drill, at a half speed. So be quick with it, right? Be quick with it. And again, hurdles, it's a regular hurdle. It's probably at the lowest height. Trail leg drill on the wall. So one lever, right? One lever. And again, to me, that's also a sprint cue, right? When we're teaching A skip, when we're teaching B skip, we tell the kids, knee, toe, and heel, everything needs to come up at the same time, right? So same thing here. I tell them, think about like, here's a whole lever, or, I use the analogy, I tell them like, if you were gonna swing a baseball bat, swing a golf club, swing a hockey stick, whatever it is, which one's gonna be quicker? A shorter one or a longer one, right? And the shorter one is gonna be quicker. So I tell them, think about this as that piece that you're trying to swing, and if we move it all at once, it's going to be a lot quicker. And so then we kind of apply that here to the hurdles, right? So knee to the armpit, because we cue the knee to the armpit, Now we're thinking about that straight up action, right? And not coming out, back, and around. We're thinking knee to the armpit, it's straight up, right? Straight up. And then if the knee is coming to the armpit, then the heel and the toe, I probably don't have to maybe stress or emphasize to them as much because now we're bringing that up at the same time. And if I bring the knee up to the armpit and I do it as one lever, then I'm probably not going to have a lot of awkward motions. And then I tell them bring the knee around quick, right? A lot of times they want to do this and then just kind of stop and get that. But knee to the armpit and then bring it around in front quick. The side slide. So again, their midfoot is kind of on the top of the hurdle there. Again, knee to armpit. Keep the toe dorsiflex, toe pointed up, just like we would normally do. So I have them go up 3 times and then finish around in front quick. And to me, I like it because when I'm thinking about sprint drills, I'm thinking about, are we programming the right movement pattern, right? Are we getting the muscle memory of the correct movement pattern that we want? And to me, this drill does a perfect job of that, right? This is the path. If we eliminated the hurdle, that's essentially the path we would want to happen, right, with the trail leg coming up. So those are just stationary drills, right? And then now we move into some of the movement drills. Okay. So walking or jogging trail leg, I do with 3 hurdles. That's just I feel like the amount that I like because it's enough for them to go through the drill to where I can see it, I can make a correction, and they can kind of correct it within the rep. But again, is the knee to the armpit, and then I use the term cutting off the trail leg. So I tell them on your trail leg, so when the lead arm comes, you check the time. Now I want to cut it off. And so I tell them, pretend you have a knife in your hand, right? And you want to cut off your trail leg, right? Well, again, the path of that arm, if the path of the arm is out here, then the knife is not going to get close to their leg, right? They're not going to be able to cut off the leg, cut off the trail leg if they're way out here, right? But if we cut off the trail down here, then we've done a great job staying compact. And now when I come off the hurdle, now my arm is right back to sprint mechanics, right? Again, for me, I look at this as how are we competent getting hurdle technique, but how are we getting to and from great sprint mechanics as best as we can? So we check the run, we're sprinting, we check the time, we're cutting off the trail leg. And now it looks like I'm right back to running, right back to great sprint mechanics. So we talked about teaching them to run the race backwards, right? So here's a drill, a couple drills we do. Each hurdle is an opportunity to gap the other hurdlers, right? It's not a barrier. We don't want to look at it as a barrier. We want to create an attack mentality. How many times do we, be at a track meet, you hear coaches tell kids, attack into the hurdle, right? Well, why don't kids want to attack into the hurdle? Because they're scared, right? I would be scared, right? I mean, I've moved enough hurdles and in my lifetime to know a hurdle is not a soft thing. A hurdle is not a light thing. Like that's gonna hurt, right? When you bang into it somehow. So we want to create that attack mentality. And so we want to use training tools instead of actual hurdles. So those drills before, we're going to use the real hurdle, right? There's nothing intimidating about that. We're creating great hurdle mechanics, right? But here, we want to teach them not to be scared. Okay? And why don't kids, especially on the girl side, we have kids who don't want to do the hurdles because they've been to a track meet and they've seen a kid fall, right? Or they see it as something that is, I'm not going to be embarrassed and I'm not going to put myself out there. At the end, I think we might talk about characteristics to look for in your hurdles. So I call these over the tops, right? Key is attack the zone, so we're programming to run the race backwards. So I have a cone, or I guess it's a piece of tape here, 7 meters, or no, sorry, they're right here, the blue ones. So 7 meters before the hurdle, 7 meters after the hurdle, right? Cone in, cone out. And so I tell the kids, let's run the zone. We're gonna run the zone. We're running the zone, right? We're attacking the zone. So scaffold the drill as needed. I have 2 cones and a piece of tape, right? You could use a mini hurdle, wickets, the adjustable ones that go from 6 inches to 12 inches. You could use, really anything that you want. I want to avoid using a real hurdle. So like, with a more experienced kid, you could do the thing, the trick where you turn the hurdle over so it's shorter. But to me, that might still somehow in another way, like that might be, intimidating for a kid. I want to create an attack mentality, a not back down mentality to run the zones. So we're gonna use cone and a piece of tape to start. And to me, that will be just fine, right? So here we go. Queuing it up, run the zone. I'm not worried, I'm not really trying to talk to her about lead arm, trail leg, like we talked about in those other drills. Here, your job is to attack the zone. And sometimes I'll time it, and I don't have a time in my mind of like, here's an ideal time. I just time it to be able to tell the kid you were consistent, or if I feel like they're not attacking it, then it's like, hey, you were 10.3, the first few times, and they're not, when you started really attacking it, then we got down to 8 something, right? Again, I don't think the time matters. It's just, are we, timing it for consistency, timing it to make sure they're actually attacking through the zone. Right? So, hurdle or cones and a piece of tape, not intimidating. Let's attack. Let's not be scared. Let's not back down. Now, here's Shay doing it with a real hurdle. Okay? And this is as a senior, so like that attack mentality, she's not scared of the hurdle, but we're still obviously trying to work on that. And always being in the mindset of attacking. Okay? But lights don't help us too much. But if we look at these 2 pictures of her going over the top of, this should be into the hurdle. Sorry, into the hurdle, over the hurdle, and coming off the hurdle, it's basically the same. Right? Like we basically have very similar, same mechanics that we would want, and we accomplished it with using cones and a piece of tape. But more importantly, I hope that if we've done it enough, we have accomplished the idea of attacking through there, right? Attacking through that zone. We are not going to sprint as hard as we can, get to the hurdle, and then I'm going to worry about my steps, and I'm going to worry about which lead leg and all those kind of things. Okay? Back to rule number 2, we want to alternate. This drill, I have it with real hurdles. I especially with younger kids, I like the idea of using that training aid or whatever, right? I call these randoms because I randomly put the hurdles in different places. So, if we want to alternate, the reason we need to learn how to alternate is so that we can keep our speed. Even if we're ugly over the hurdle, we're going to keep our speed, right? And so, keeping the speed, take the hurdle with whichever leg comes up, right? I don't care which leg it is. I don't care how great it looks going over the hurdle. Do not lose speed. There's no time to think. There's no time to react. Just take the hurdle with whichever leg comes up. So here, and I usually do this with like 2 or 3 hurdles. And it's within probably no more than a total of certainly probably 40 to 50 meters, but in as short a segment as 20 to 25 meters. And we'll go through it a couple times. And I might let them go through 2 times, maybe once, and then I'm going to change the hurdles. I'm going to change where the hurdles are. So actually, if we go back. So on this first set, she is. So she was able to stay on the same, and they can choose. They might go through it one time and they might go right lead leg, left lead leg. The next time, if I keep it the same, I might tell them come in faster, right? Let's get after it, go faster. And even without changing the hurdles, they might have to change which leg they're using. Okay. So here we have 3 hurdles, so they're a little bit closer. Again, the goal is negotiate the hurdle, take it to the leg comes up, right? And then while she's going to give, I might say, okay, go grab a drink of water, and then I'm pulling the hurdles and I'm moving them around. And all it takes to make them have to change lead legs is maybe moving the hurdle like 2 feet up. And I don't have a set number of, or a set distance that they need to be apart. Sometimes they might be 12 meters, 10, 12 meters apart, and then the next one might be 20 meters away from that. Because to me it doesn't matter, and to them it doesn't matter, right? And again, here we have real hurdles. Totally love doing this drill, especially with new kids, with cones and a piece of tape, or whatever, training hurdles that we have. Any questions about the drill work? Okay, so now as we talk about workouts, so progressing to a hurdle in a workout and cutting back.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you ever do like step throughs, like 5 hurdles in a row?
If there's, usually I would do that. I do that if the kid is also going to be a short hurdler.
Okay.
But for these drills, I usually keep it as
Three drills.
that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So progressing to a hurdle in a workout. Again, I'm not going to start off doing a workout with a hurdle, right? Especially now we're introducing something different to them, like a full workout. So we don't want to keep, keep them in that mindset of attacking through the zone, running the race backwards, not being afraid. We need to create confidence, right? So we need to make them as comfortable as possible with the hurdle. The worst possible result is they are afraid of the hurdle. Right? They are afraid of the hurdle. And what's going to happen most of the time, the first time they have a bad one and they fall, right? Are we going to get them back? Right? And by that I mean, hopefully we get them back on the team, right? And come back, but are we going to mentally get them back, to that attack mode, right? And so at some point, yes, they're probably going to fall, whatever. But especially early, I want to make sure we're getting them there, okay? So start your intervals, right? When we're doing intervals and we're saying, all right, we're going to do a workout and it's going to involve hurdling, right? So now you're going to really have to experience speed, right? Hurdling with speed, hurdling while you're tired, all those things. Again, start with a mini hurdle, start with cones and tape, a cone and a yardstick, whatever it is. Those pop-up hurdles, I took a picture of the one downstairs that's kind of split in the middle. We'll see. Maybe I might get a few of those and try them out and see how that works. But create confidence. Allow them to always stay fast and through those zones and attack the zones all the time. Right? We are constantly emphasizing alternating and build a no-fear mentality, a no-fear attitude through hurdle workouts. Lower the hurdle height to practice a faster clearance. We rarely, especially on the boys' side, the girls are already lower all the way down, but on the boys' side, we rarely practice at race height. Right? We will practice, I want them, again, attacking through. If it's a pre-meet day or something like that, or it's, we get a little bit closer here, we'll talk about race modeling. And if we're doing something that really is, kind of close to race pace type stuff, then yeah, we might put it, especially for an experienced kid, put it up so that they can feel that. But are we developing a comfort to alternate? Right? A comfort, a confidence, all of that to alternate. And again, late season, it's more about specific race considerations and heights and all those kind of things. So when it comes to cutting back, so moving the hurdle back essentially towards the start line, right? And not having the hurdle at the actual hurdle marks. So we rarely would have flight, especially multiple flights at race marks, right? That pattern is for 100%. In general, My kids are always giving me a hard time about the percentage that I say we're running at. And, why are we at 96%? Why not just say 100%? Well, because we can't replicate 100%, right? We can't replicate the adrenaline. We can't replicate competition, how they're going to change, how they're going to attack things in a competition standpoint, right? Even the idea of racing on Saturday, well, you've recovered for 2 days, right? Because we didn't do anything on Friday. Well, maybe this is a Tuesday and we did a workout on Monday, right? So training sessions can't replicate that. So we can't put the hurdles at the exact hurdle marks that we would have for a race. So cut them back based on a percentage of the effort that you're going at that day. Okay? So these are not super not scientific. I couldn't have science or anything to state this. But for me, I generally have found that cutting them back 2 feet and actually using a tape measure, quick we have a yardstick that I just put down. So if the workout is at 90-95%, right? Basically, if we're doing a speed workout to prepare a 300 hurdler, I'm going to cut them back by 2. So I'm going to go. Say we're starting at the 300 hurdle start. I'm going to go to the first hurdle mark. We're going to cut that back by 2 feet. That's where I'll put the hurdle or whatever I'm using. Go to the next one. We're going to cut that one back by 4 feet. Then if I'm using 3 hurdles, we'll go to the third hurdle mark. I'm going to cut that one back by 6 feet. So that's what I mean by 2s or 3s. So if we're going a little bit slower, right? So probably some sort of maybe a tempo workout or a higher tempo workout or a lactic acid kind of workout, go by 3s. So first hurdle, we're going to cut back 3 feet. Next one 6 feet. The next one 9 feet. Right? And if if the workout is more and I'll talk about it tempo work, 200s or 100s or something like that, where you're not running at that type of speed, then it doesn't really matter. To me, it kind of goes back to the random drills that we did, right? So the random drills and the attacking the zone drills are the keys for those. So again, just like with a sprint training workout, with a hurdle training workout, why am I doing this workout? I don't want to just say, well, the sprinter's doing this, so we'll just throw hurdles out and have the hurdlers go over hurdles with the workout, right? Sometimes they pair, but not always. So is it a hurdle capacity workout? And so to me, that means, are we preparing this athlete with the ability to hurdle when they are fatigued, right? Again, that rule of being able to alternate